Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining today's stream. And I just noticed there is a goodness me, man. I just noticed that there is a issue that I have to deal right now. Otherwise, I might go offline. Just a sec. Okay, should be good now. So thank you all, dear friends, for joining today's stream. It is 13th of January 2026, and as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments, and I really hope you'll like the show, you'll like the news segment, and in that case, please click that like button, leave some commentary, share a link with your friends, with everybody, basically. Your help is the only way I can reach wider audience because channel is in shadow ban on both platforms, on YouTube and Rumble, by the way. And I really struggle to achieve this task to reach wider audience. It is impossible to deal with the algorithm, man. It's algorithm. You are in a shadow ban and that's it, right? Very rarely videos actually manage to break through these artificial barriers. And so, yes, after news segment, if there will be any questions from community, through super chat on Rumble, and I'm streaming on both my channels, sir, as you know, simultaneously on YouTube and Rumble. I dropped the link to my Rumble, and if you can, please watch the live stream on Rumble. By the way, it will be very helpful to develop a Rumble channel little better. And yes, if there are going to be any questions from community or the comments, any support during the stream, I will highlight that either on Rumble through Super Chat or Rant, as it's called there, or Boosty, by the way, or the PayPal. I will, of course, pay attention to it after the news segment. Links to PayPal and Boosty are under this video in description box, by the way, already. So, okay, that's been said, without further delay, let's go through some news now, right? And I will start with this report from RIA Novosti, which is based on Russian Defense Ministry's statement on a topic of Russian Oreshnik strike that happened recently in the Lvov region, Western Ukraine. And after several days of speculations all over the world, all over the internet, what was the target, how serious the damage was, and all that kind of stuff. Now we have a Russian Defense Ministry's statement on the matter. So Russian forces using Oreshnik missiles struck a Lvov aircraft repair plant where F-16 fighter jets were being repaired, the Ministry of Defense reported, and we have some quotes here. As a result of a strike on the night of January 9th using Oreshnik mobile ground launcher missile system, the Lvov State Aircraft Repair Plant was disabled. The plant carried out repairs and the maintenance of Ukrainian Armed Forces aircraft, including F-16s and MiG-29 aircrafts donated by the Western countries, by the NATO countries, basically. Statement reads, on this plant, there was also longer and medium-range drone assembly line, according to Russian Defense Ministry. So there is no more need for any speculations. Lvov State Aircraft Repair Plant was targeted and disabled, whatever that means, by the way. Level of damage is unknown, of course, and Kiev regime and its NATO backers are very strict in terms of information that is available about the effectiveness of this system, although what is also being speculated on internet that neither during the first deployment of Oreshnik, neither on 9th of January, warheads of Oreshnik had explosive materials in it. It was just dummy warheads, basically, but they had such a tremendous kinetic energy due to, after entering to the atmosphere, that was probably enough to deal some very significant damage. But details about effectiveness of the system is still unknown. But at least we're not going to speculate no more. By the way, that's the target, actual target of both state aircraft repair plant. And I remind you that there was a speculations all over the internet that either underground gas storage facility was targeted, or underground bunker where among Kiev regime's officers there was also NATO officers that were deployed. Speculations will continue, of course, but at least we have some answers now. And on the topic of Oreshnik, by the way, Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, commented on the matter, right? And he rightfully understood that this was a sort of message from Moscow, and it was message for sure, but Rutte said that they don't give a damn, basically, right? Let me give you a video. I believe I have his statement here, so let's listen to him. It's a short video.
Russia's brutal war of aggression continues, and we saw just last week the use of the Oreshnik missile on Lviv and continued attacks on civilian and energy infrastructure. Russia is trying to deter us from supporting Ukraine, but we will not be deterred.
So that's it. Rutte is quite direct there that, this was a message sent to NATO. It was for sure. And Rutte is also quite clear there that they're not going to be deterred. They don't care. They will continue this proxy war against Russia as long as they possibly can. And I guess none of us have any doubts about it. Clearly, Western ruling class is not yet there, not yet ready to face the reality and acknowledge that they lost this proxy war that they launched against Russia. Let's go through some other news. Overnight, by the way, 11 drones that was launched by Kyiv regime with assistance of NATO were intercepted by Russian air defense systems. Relatively low number of drones, which is always indicator that most likely Kyiv regime and their NATO are stockpiling drones to conduct some larger scale attacks, long range attacks on Russian Federation. It's always the case, right? Whenever you see these low numbers, after several days, there is always massive launches with the hundreds of drones being deployed. And I remind you, dear friends, that during the New Year Christmas celebrations, Kyiv regime was launching hundreds of drones, and Kyiv regime and its NATO backers were focused big time on Moscow. Although even single drone were able to actually bypass air defense systems and reach the capital. All of them were destroyed. Also, I think this is interesting news to understand better what kind of tactics for propaganda means Kyiv regime and its NATO backers are deploying. Defense Ministry shared the footage, basically, of Kyiv regime's sabotage group, let's call it that way, is trying to enter the Pokrovsk city, Krasnoarmeysk, Russian name of it, and to plant a flag. You have seen many times, isn't it, reports about these tactics of the Kyiv regime when they either by drones or by manpower that is sent on suicidal operations are trying to infiltrate certain areas and put the flag, then make videos of it, and then claim that, they are in control of entire settlement or something like that, right? And this time around, the Russian Defense Ministry decided that they're going to release footage of obliteration, total extermination of this unit that Kyiv regime sent on this suicidal mission. And I have seen video, by the way. It's only question I have, entire unit was neutralized, by the way, of Kyiv regime. And I have only question, what was going on in the heads of those militaries of the Kyiv regime? Did not they understood that this was a one-way trip for them, that they're gonna die for our propaganda, right? for hours, literally hours, not even days, of propaganda of the Kyiv regime and NATO. I don't know. And maybe they are on drugs or something, man. They must be drugged. Or I don't know what the hell is going on, but time and again, these kind of stories are repeating when these suicidal operations are conducted by Kyiv regime's forces to plant flag or to do some other crazy stuff, right? And time and again, they've been destroyed. And it continues, man. It's insanity, right? It's insanity. Those people must be drugged, man. There is no other explanation, right? They cannot be that stupid not to understand that this is a most definitely one-way trip for them, right? Anyways, Western ruling class, as Rute already highlighted there in a video that I share, is quite determined to prolong this proxy war as much as they can, as long as they can. And lately, we have here there are quite a number of statements from London and France, leading, one of the leading countries in this anti-Russian coalition, alongside US, obviously. And their statements were that they're going to deploy troops, they're going to deploy armored vehicles, they're going to deploy aircraft, they're going to do this and that, and they were acting tough, almost on a daily basis, right? And I guess there was a backlash not just in France, when Macron was basically booed by political class in France when he tried to gain some support from their politicians on the topic of deployment of French troops, and he failed tremendously, right? In UK, I guess there is also a certain backlash on due to statements of Starmer, Prime Minister of UK, and some other elements that they're going to deploy troops on the Kyiv-controlled territory and this and that. And I guess this is the reason why Chief of Defence Staff Richard Knighton of UK stated that British troops will not be deployed to Ukraine if there is a threat to their safety. And of course, there is a threat to their safety because Moscow's position was very clear. Any foreign troops in Ukraine will be considered a legit target, period, right? And also reports are that London is kind of, I don't know, changing the position, sort of, and there are some officials, they are stating now, including militaries, by the way, that they're not going to deploy British troops to Kyiv-controlled territory until peace will be reached, right? So let's see. I don't think globalists actually are willing to de-escalate, but I guess these kind of statements are for the public in the UK, because no matter how much they brainwash the people, majority, let's say, I guess there is still significant fraction of the society in UK that is not really happy with this kind of statements and provocations, basically, by their own government against Russia, which might lead to dire consequences, not just for British militaries, but for UK, generally speaking, right? So that's what we are hearing from UK. But same time, as I said, man, globalists are not yet ready to face the reality and capitulate, right? Which will mean end of hostilities, and whatever statements in terms of downgrading the risks are being made by British officials. In reality, their plans are all about escalation. And for example, BBC, a British major propaganda outlet, propaganda corporation that is funded by taxpayers, shared the information that UK plans to detain so-called shadow fleet tankers. So UK wants to do same that US does in regards to tankers in the Western Hemisphere, right? That are linked to Venezuela or to whatever, right? So information is that Britain intends to begin detaining tankers linked to their so-called shadow fleet, and claims it has already identified the legal basis to do so, according to BBC. UK ministers argue that such action fell under the 2018 Sanctions and Anti-Money Laundering Act. Last week, British Armed Forces, as you know, assisted US militaries to hijack tanker Marinero that was under the Russian flag, Russian registration. And well, yet again, because Moscow did not retaliate against US on this act of war when they hijacked a Russian tanker, and some might argue, well, it was just a couple of days since registered as a Russian. It was just an attempt to escape by actual owners of the tanker. Who cares, man? This was a Russian tanker. Under the Russian law, this was a tanker registered in Russia, and this tanker was under the Russian flag. And US hijacked it, right? Conducted terrorist attack together with the UK, and some reports are suggesting that Denmark also assisted in this terrorist attack, and Moscow did not retaliate against neither of these countries. So therefore, I can understand why London is further emboldened to continue this terror campaign against Russia, not just Russian civilians, but also against the Russian civilian fleet, right? And against Russian Federation in general. And well, most likely they will go ahead, and the next several days, weeks, they will start hijacking tankers or civilian vessels, by the way, of any sort that they will consider part of shadow fleet. And they come up with this terminology, by the way, shadow fleet, to demonize, isn't it? These vessels, companies that are owners of these vessels. What they actually mean by shadow fleet is that these tankers are not insured in London. You might be surprised, but London, by the way, leading insurance companies that are working also on maritime insurance are based in London. It's a big business. It's a massive business, right? And one of the tools of control, it's a control mechanism, right? And these tankers are not insured in London. And that's the reason why they call it shadow fleet. There is nothing shadow about these tankers. These are tankers, by the way, that are registered in Russia, in some other countries, right? And they might have insurance from Russia, from, I don't know, India, China, anywhere. But just because they are not paying London, they've been designated as a shadow fleet. Insanity, right? British ruling class, British aristocracy still thinks that they are on top of their world, right? They are very relevant and important creatures, while they are just scum of humanity. That's it, man. And we will teach them a lesson, by the way, right? They might go ahead and hijack Russian tankers, and Moscow, president of Russian Federation, might still continue to exercise restraint and do nothing about it, or do not authorize Russian militaries or security services to take retaliatory actions. But well, Putin not going to be Russian president forever. We should all keep that in mind, by the way, that Vladimir Putin not going to be Russian president forever. And next Russian president, I have no doubts about it, by the way. Next Russian president will be anything but about restraint, because I'm quite sure vast majority of society here in Russia is sick and tired of this restraint, right? I don't know anybody, by the way, here in Russia that actually very happy that we've been attacked by these NATO countries day in, day out, and we are not retaliating. I don't know anybody who applauds that. So we are sick and tired of this freaking restraint, right? And I don't know how long this proxy war will last that West is waging against Russia, but there are going to be elections in a few years' time, right? Again, presidential elections. And yes, if Putin thinks that he's going to win the elections with such policies, he is mistaken big time. And things are changing. And he might be the most popular politician now still here in Russia. But as the Western ruling class continues this terror campaign and escalates this terror campaign against Russia, anger in a society will only mount, right? And eventually, that will find its reflection on the political class too. And I'm telling you, next Russian president going to be anything but about restraint. And British aristocracy should keep that in mind. Nothing is forgotten, nothing is forgiven. And they will come for revenge. For sure, by the way, 100%. I mean, it's not even a question, right? It's matter of time. Also, it is interesting that in last 3 months, about 25 tankers somehow linked to Venezuela raised the Russian flags, which means they've been registered here in Russia. So this is a report from Wall Street Journal, by the way, originally based on information from S&P Global Market Intelligence. And if true, then I guess soon we're gonna see more tankers under the Russian flag being hijacked by NATO member states, US, UK, Denmark, whomever, man. Nowadays, I mean, they feel free to do literally anything, right, against Russia. So soon we will see more Russian tankers most likely being hijacked by these terrorist states from the NATO. Vzglyad newspaper is also reporting that, well, in US, bill to annex Greenland has been introduced in the Congress. Interesting. So Congressman Randy Fine has introduced legislation to annex and grant statehood to Greenland, a landmark measure. Just a sec. Hello? Hello? Oh. Whatever. Sorry. And so Congressman Randy Fine has introduced legislation to annex and grant statehood to Greenland, landmark measure aimed at securing America's strategic national security interests in the Arctic and countering growing threats from China and Russia. A global competition in the Arctic intensifies. The United States cannot afford to allow hostile powers to gain influence in one of the world's most strategically important regions. Congressman Fine said in a press release on his website, which includes the full text of the bill. And yes, I mean, there is no 100% guarantees that this bill is going to be adopted by U.S. Lawmakers, but could be because U.S. ruling class seems like to be very serious about conquering Greenland, right, or taking Greenland from Denmark, and they will. By the way, nothing gonna stop them for sure. And it is funny, as I said many times before, it is funny that whenever they want to justify any crazy move that they can come up with, they always bring a topic of Russia and China. And Trump himself was talking this crap, isn't it? That, well, you know, we're not going to have Russia as our main neighbor. We're not going to allow Russia to take over the Greenland and that kind of nonsense, right? And while saying so, Trump clearly demonstrated how ill-educated he is, man. He has no freaking idea that Russia and US actually are neighbors, right? Since the day US purchased Alaska or buy Alaska from Russia. What a bad move that was, man, on part of Russian leadership at the time. But it's a history now. So yes, they don't want Russia to be their neighbors, really. I mean, they can sell Alaska back to us. You know, maybe we will take it, and then we wouldn't be neighbors. Then we will be neighbors with Canada. So yeah, it's crazy, man. They can justify nowadays literally anything. All they have to do is just mention Russia and China. Well, you know, I mean, don't you support our policies? Are you a Russian asset or what? That's all they have to say, man. If you disagree with them, then you are a Russian asset. If tomorrow they will come up and say they're gonna execute every second person in US, And if you say no, this is craziness, then you know what they're gonna say? Are you Russian asset? Why are you being this irrational? Don't you know what American interests are? We have to execute half of the American citizens, right? So if you are against, then you are Russian asset, because Russians don't want half of Americans to be executed, because they want more people to be in US. So Washington has to take care of more people and lose and lose focus on some other directions. I mean, it sounds crazy, right? But I'm telling you, if they come up with such a crazy idea tomorrow, all they have to say is, if you are against, you are Russian asset, and the majority will shut the fuck up. Majority will just keep mouth shut, right? That's how it is, man. That's how it is. Do you see any massive pushback on Trump against occupying Greenland in US? Do you see anything at all? No, because there is no pushback. And as you know, Trump already ordered its militaries to come up with a plan to invade Greenland. They don't really need no invasion, man. All they have to do is to raise American flag on their own base, then send a couple of militaries to local administration and said that, yeah, you are Americans now. And no one gonna say nothing, man. They're gonna say, okay, we are Americans now. Or they have alternative. Greenlanders actually have alternative, by the way. If they definitely don't want to become Americans, they can become Russians. And former Russian president, this is joke, by the way, right? Of course, they can become Russians if they want to, but this is a irony, humor. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev and current Deputy Chairman of the Security Council actually trolled the Western ruling class, by the way, collective West, while commenting on the topic of Greenland. All 55,000 residents of Greenland, he said, could vote to join Russia. And then it's all over, right? No more confusion, no more discussions, no more nothing in terms of being occupied by US. And this is humor is humor, but technically speaking, yes, I mean, if they hold a referendum, Greenlanders made decision that they want to join Russia, asked Russia to receive them in Russian Federation, and if for whatever reason Moscow accepts that, then yes, American ruling class can dream about occupying or conquering Greenland, but they would not be able to do so because they do a single move and there is no more America left, right? We will incinerate US, literally. We will just incinerate US. There will be nothing left there, right? Radioactive desert. We can do it, right? They will die, we will die, everybody will die, but technically speaking, we can do it. So I don't think US would attack Greenland if it was a part of Russia. Denmark definitely cannot secure it. Europe definitely cannot secure Greenland, right? So humor, this is a humor, of course, on part of Medvedev, but as some say goes, one say goes, in every joke there is a part of a joke, rest of this is true. So yes, Greenlanders think about joining Russia. And yeah, you might maintain your autonomous status and be free, by the way, to do whatever you want with your island, right? RIA Novosti is also reporting that, well, if in past days, the Danish government was saying that, well, unlike expectations, Danish sovereignty was threatened, not by Russia or China, as Washington loves to say, but and the European propaganda too, by the way, but actually by the US, which is true. American president and many other officials openly are saying that they're going to take Greenland no matter what. It's just done deal. And what is left now is formalization of this stuff, right? This process. And now Sweden is the same, saying the same. and probably some others also beginning to vary in Europe, especially in the northern Europe, right? Because Greenland, by the way, unlike all the speculations or most of the speculations in the West, Greenland is in U.S. interests or in interest of the U.S. ruling class, not because of some freaking rare earth or something, but because of the location. Northern Sea Route, by the way, Arctic Sea Route, let's say, is destined to become a major trade route for this world. With increased warming, which is global warming, which is not the product of human activity, it's just natural process, right? But global warming is real, and therefore ice is becoming thinner and thinner in Arctics, right? And already now Russia year-round can operate with the Northern Sea Route. Russia has tanker icebreaker fleets for that, and infrastructure is also being built constantly for decades now, right? And US wants to be part of this tremendous opportunity, right? That is opening, especially when if you keep in mind not just the global warming that makes Northern Sea Route even more attractive, but also due to risks that existing trade routes gonna be disrupted big time. Suez Canal, Panama Channel, I mean, every current traditional maritime trade routes are gonna become unusable basically soon, due to a high level of instability in this world, right? And Northern Sea Route is gonna be most safe route for trade, and U.S. wants piece of it. Just Alaska is not enough, Paul. Alaska is not enough. Alaska is not helping much, right? They need Greenland, and potentially they need Sweden and Norway. Iceland maybe, but Sweden and Norway too. And the Swedish government understands this, I guess, and there are some statements already been made. Sweden could become a priority target for the United States after Greenland, due to its mineral resources. A warned Swedish Deputy Prime Minister, this is high-ranking official, by the way, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Energy and Industry, Ebba Busch, and yet again, it's not just about resources, it's about geography. And if Swedish government is worried about this stuff, then Norway should be worried for sure. These are British proxies, right? These Nordic countries, by the way, are British proxies, all of them. Norway, Sweden, Denmark, all of them are British proxies. And yeah, if US is overtaking Greenland, then what is going to stop them? Which is part of Denmark now. That means it's a US attack on Greenland is US attack on UK, by the way. Many people may don't understand this, but that's what is happening, right? There is significant tensions, friction, by the way, between American ruling class and their British ruling class. And British ruling class is a leading force among the globalists, right? Most powerful force among the globalists. So yes, what will stop American ruling class to force to submission Sweden and Norway? Not so much Sweden, but Sweden too. But Norway, first of all. Nothing gonna stop them, man. And question is now this Swedish why no one asked this Swedish Prime Minister that they joined NATO just recently, Sweden, while justifying these actions with security concerns, right? They were non-stop regime were telling the people that, yeah, I mean, Russians gonna attack, by the way, and Russians gonna do this and that, and Russians are coming, and we need to be part of NATO for security and stuff. And what happened, brother? What happened? Russians came. Why Swedish government is being this stressed and disconcerted with their own security? Russians came and occupied Sweden, or they are afraid of their own so-called allies. What's going on? Why nobody's asking question? Why we freaking join the NATO, by the way, if our security is being threatened even higher than ever before? And by whom? By major force in NATO, by US. Anyways, Europe is a joke, man. I'm telling you, due to these useless elements in European elites, by the way, Europe truly become a freaking joke, man. And I can feel pain of European citizens, by the way, that cannot stand this nonsense, right? I can understand why actual intellectuals in Norway, Sweden, Germany, France, UK, by the way, Italy, you name it, Spain, Portugal. I can understand why they would be extremely, extremely frustrated, by the way, with everything that is happening. Their own elites are destroying their countries openly, by the way, and seems like there is nobody there to stop them. It's crazy, isn't it? I expect her. I'm waiting for similar statements from Norway. Maybe they already make such statement, maybe not, but I'm waiting Oslo to make a statement that they've been threatened by US. Because if Sweden is threatened, then for God's sake, man, Norway is 10 times more important in terms of Arctics than Sweden, right? Nothing to be said about Norway's resources, by the way. It's the richest country in Europe with their oil and gas, right? So anyways, mess continues in the Western world, but same time, US continues to escalate with everyone else, and he come up yesterday with a new idea on his True Social, and he wrote, as you can see on your screen right now, that effective immediately, any country doing business with the Islamic Republic of Iran will pay a tariff of 25% on any and all business being done with the United States of America. This order is final and conclusive. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So 25% tariffs, by the way, being added basically on China, India, Russia, everybody who cooperates with Iran. Of course, more specific is needed, and hopefully someone will explain today from the US, maybe US Treasury Secretary or someone, which countries they consider under these additional sanctions. China, obviously, Russia, obviously, India, most likely, because India, not just a good friend of Iran, but India is also was actively involved in building this southern north-south energy or trade route, let's say, right, that connects Russia, Iran, and India. And India had big plans in terms of investing in Iran. So I don't think New Delhi will be happy to cut ties with Iran completely. They might, after all, they might not be as comfortable as China and Russia in terms of dealing with the US, but US aggression. But still, it's going to be issue, by the way, right? It's going to be issue. When it comes to China, China is the biggest trade partner for US. And there are already quite a number of tariffs on China imposed, right? And additional 25% will make Chinese goods in US even more expensive. Correct? Even more expensive. So eventually, it's American people that are going to pay for this. And in no universe, by the way, China is going to cut ties with Iran. Exactly opposite will happen. China will accelerate its support to Iran, right? And when it comes to Russia, by the way, I mean, you already know the answer, isn't it? We don't care about. They can impose 1,000,000% tariffs on Russian goods, literally, by the way. And Trump can come up and said and write on his True Social that they are imposing 1,000,000% tariffs on Russian goods, right? That are exported to US. We simply don't care, man. They can come up with 10,000,000% tariffs. We don't care. Not just because our business is very low. I mean, almost non-existent. But because yet again, man, it's US that buys stuff from Russia. We don't really buy anything from the US, not that much, right? It's the US that buys strategical stuff from Russia, directly or indirectly. It's US, man, that is dependent on some Russian goods, including uranium, enriched uranium. US leadership loves to act, to be big boss on these planets. They are unable to even enrich uranium for their freaking nuclear reactors, man. That's the level of degradation in the US. They cannot even enrich uranium for themselves. And they are pretending to be like I don't know what they even pretend to be, man. So it's a joke, man. It's a freaking joke. Someone gonna stop this, these idiots, man. Someone gonna stop these idiots. I'm telling you. But you would think American war hawks would be happy, right? That Trump is imposing additional tariffs on Russia, China, potentially India, all the others. But no, they are not happy. They are not happy because they want war. They want US to launch war against Iran, right? And one of the most well-known war hawks in US, girlfriend or boyfriend of Trump, Lindsey Graham, expressed partially at least his dissatisfaction with the Trump, although he was praising Trump. But same time, he was saying that, you know what, Trump, I mean, those guys in Iran, they're mocking you and stuff, some war. We need some more wars, man. That's what he said. Let me go through his statement here. Mr. President, Lindsey Graham is writing, decisive leadership in isolating this regime economically through your actions today are most impressive. Your promise to have the protesters back and put the regime on a notice that you will not tolerate the killing has led to the largest outpouring of demonstrators against the fanatical regime since its founding. Mr. President, I believe the Iranian regime has crossed the red lines. Lindsey Graham said they are killing their people in large numbers and they're mocking your leadership. It is now time to take decisive military action. No boots on the ground going after those who do the killing. So he's calling for strikes on Iran. He's calling for a war with Iran. And he's not alone, obviously. Lindsey Graham represents a deep state, right? Neocons, military-industrial complex, Zionists, and globalists too, by the way, because Lindsey Graham is a prostitute. Everyone should remember, a prostitute that went after Trump when January 6 happened. I mean, some people forget in the US, Americans, man, they forget that Lindsey Graham, this prostitute, went after Trump, literally after, days after January 6th. And Trump and many others are acting if this has never happened. It's unbelievable. Very strange relationships between Trump and Lindsey Graham. They are gays, right? They are LGBTQ people, both, clearly. And probably there is something going on between these two, clearly, right? It seems to me. And it's their business. They can do whatever they want, right? But when they talk about targeting other countries and killing their leadership and stuff, that's something that concerns the whole world, right? So if you keep in mind that Lindsey Graham is constantly next to Trump, constantly, I mean, he spends with Trump more time than Melania does, which is, in it again, it's their own business, but seems like he has a great deal of influence on Trump and many others in the US among these deep state hawks. And Iran should be ready, by the way. Yesterday afternoon, there was already reports on a number of media outlets. Al Jazeera, for example, was reporting that during the nighttime, US might actually launch a military attack on Iran. Such an attack did not happen yet. And then Axios came up with the article that Iran's foreign minister and Trump's envoy discussed their protests. Well, there was an engagement, by the way, some diplomatic talks between representatives of Iran Abbas Araghchi, foreign minister of Iran, and special envoy of Trump, Steve Witkoff. And some reports were suggesting that due to this meeting, Trump delayed authorizing the attack on Iran. That was the explanation, but what's going on in reality is anybody's guess, right? I said yesterday during my live stream that seems like government of Iran is regaining initiative after quite chaotic days on initial stages of this Western and Israeli provoked terrorist attack on Iran, right? And only way either Israel or the US or the collective West, let's say, can now prolong this regime change operation or further increase their stakes in this regime change operation is to support their assets on the ground in Iran, is to conduct their military operation, military strikes, right? If there are no military strikes, by the way, Tehran will regain full control over the country in a relatively short time. It's already just very clear that after initial several days of chaos, sort of, clearly in past 24, 48 hours, Tehran, Iran's security forces, security services regained the initiative, and they are now in charge, right? So nothing is over yet, of course, but I'm quite sure if there will be no military attack on Iran by Israel and US, other their allies, government in Iran will manage to regain full control over the country. And well, this regime change operation is clearly orchestrated by Israel, by US, by BRICS, their secret services. I don't think anybody who can be objective has any doubts about it. Western propaganda might push this false narrative about people in Iran, being, like protesting and they're all being freaking peaceful, and the Iran government is just killing thousands of people, civilian people, for no reason. No matter how hard, how far the Western propaganda going to push this false narrative. In reality, everyone who can be objective understands that Western assets or assets of their Israel and their US, UK on the ground hijacked legit protest of the people, right? And are leading this regime change and transform it into regime change operation, right? Everyone understands this. And we have seen numerous videos, by the way. We have seen numerous videos of weapons being used against civilians and against officials, security services, machine guns, pistols, fire bombs, flamethrowers, by the way. I have shared videos of that, isn't it? On my Telegram and Twitter X page. So they are failing. Israel and collective West is failing with this regime change again, not the first one, and I think not the last one, but they are failing. Only way they can increase their chances is to attack Iran directly, and this might happen. They might actually go ahead and attack Iran, although Iran is prepared. China and Russia supporting Iran, I believe, very significantly. And rumors are circulating that Iran was able to suppress Starlink, basically. Not just GPS, but Starlink. And some experts, at least, are saying that Iran did not really have the technical means to suppress Starlink. And reports are that about 40,000, by the way, about 40,000 Starlink dishes allegedly were transferred to Iran through different means, right? Through Western NGOs and stuff like that. 40,000 Starlink dishes, right? To be used then to organize this regime change operation, right? And most of these Starlink dishes are non-operational, according to reports, yet again. And Rumors are that either Russia or China, maybe both, by the way, helped Iran's security services to suppress Starlink. Could be case, right? Nothing to be said about other support that Russia and China most likely are providing in terms of intelligence, in terms of defensive capabilities, and it's good. More needs to be done. Neither Moscow, neither Beijing can allow collective West and Israel to provoke, to destabilize Middle East, to provoke a regional war. We just cannot allow this to happen, and that's exactly what globalists, neocons, and Zionists want: to destabilize the entire region, provoke a regional war on the sectarian and ethnic lines, and to shut down navigation through Persian Gulf, which will obviously be a massive hit on Chinese economy, on economy of global South, right? But first of all, on economy of China, and that will obviously force China to increase its dependence on Russia ever more, right? And that will, and that's what they want. That's what Western ruling class wants, by the way, because they think, I'm quite sure about it, they think once they will force China to increase its dependence on Russia, on Russian energy, on a critical level, they think they can then create some tensions between Moscow and Beijing, and eventually force Beijing to launch a hostile takeover over their closest energy fields, which is in Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and in Russia. They want to provoke war between China and Russia, by the way, right? And they are quite openly saying, by the way, that they want these relationships to be disrupted, Russia-China partnership. They are not even hiding this, right? So we cannot allow this to happen. Neither Moscow, neither Beijing can risk it. So we have to provide Iran with whatever assistance we can. If necessary, we should deploy troops too, man. If necessary, I think it's so important. Stability in the Middle East, by the way, is so important that if necessary, I think Russia and China and India also, by the way, India also might be hit big time if West manages to destabilize Middle East. So we BRICS member states should deploy troops, by the way, to secure the region, to secure Iran, if necessary, yet again. And it is necessary. It seems like this will be the good move. Although, of course, Tehran has to ask for such assistance first, right? And maybe there are some talks already, behind the scenes that, if a situation escalates further, maybe, Tehran will ask Moscow, Beijing, New Delhi to send their militaries, and we will. Quite sure about it. We just cannot risk it, man. We cannot allow globalists, neocons, Zionists to succeed in destabilizing Middle East and creating regional war there on sectarian and religious, on sectarian, and ethnic lines. And when it comes to Russian assistance, by the way, it is clearly there. And the Russian Security Council chief Sergei Shoigu had a conversation with Iranian counterpart Ali Larijani. Shoigu strongly condemned their external meddling in Iranian riots, announced Russia ready to strengthen bilateral security cooperation, which is yet again can be interpreted as you just make a call, man. You just make a call, and we will. I mean, what else this could mean, man? As I said, it's so important maintaining peace and stability as much as possible in the Middle East is so important for Russia and China, and should be important for entire world, that in no circumstances Moscow and Beijing can allow collective West and Israel to succeed in their attempt of destabilizing the region and provoking a regional war there. So if necessary, we should send troops, man, and maybe we will. And same time, we have this report, by the way, that TASS News Agency is reporting that Iran accuses Israel and the US of sending ISIS terrorists to participate in pogroms, in riots. Israel and the United States send the militants from their Islamic State a terrorist organization, obviously banned in Russia and they're everywhere. Formally, at least, they're everywhere, but in reality, it was Russia and Iran that was actually fighting ISIS on the ground, and it was US and Israel that was cooperating with the ISIS. They created it. US created ISIS, right? We should not forget that. ISIS is a US creation. US CIA, British MI6, and Israeli Mossad created this terrorist organization, as they did with Al-Qaeda and all the other terrorist organizations in the Middle East. All of them, literally all of them, by the way, that are actually terrorist organizations being created by Israeli secret services, US secret services, and their British secret services. And don't tell me that Hezbollah is not being created by this free. Hezbollah is not a terrorist organization. Hezbollah is a resistance organization, and let's not mix up, right? There is a resistance movement and resistance organizations, legit organizations, by the way, and Hezbollah is absolutely legit organization that was created during the Israeli occupation of the Lebanon. It's a resistance movement, right? Political party in Lebanon with a military wing, yes, but it's a resistance movement. So it's not a terrorist organization. Actual terrorist organizations, literally all of them, every single one of them, in the Middle East and in Africa, in the global South, by the way, all of them are creation of Mossad, Israeli Mossad, US CIA, and their British MI6. All of them. And all of them are, by the way, Sunni radicals. No terrorist organizations in this world exist that is based on a Shiite ideology or Shiite movement in Islam. There is no Shiite terrorist organizations, by the way. Only radical Sunnis. And to go in more specifics, usually it's Salafists, by the way. Wahhabits, right? So I actually believe that this information is correct from Iran, and I believe that yes, Iran was attacked by terrorists, and these terrorists from ISIS and from Al-Qaeda and God knows from which other terrorist groups have been transferred on Iranian soil through different means by Israeli secret services, US secret services, and British secret services. And we have clear indicators, by the way, that this report is true, because probably you have seen videos when these terrorists were attacking mosques. And first question you will have, are you fighting against your own religion? And vast majority of Iranians are Shiites, by the way, right? And Shiite holy places were targeted, burned down, destroyed. And when you see those videos, first question you will have, are you crazy? You are protesting, you are claiming to be protester for some economical stuff, and you are burning down mosque, you are attacking your own religion. Something is not quite logical there, right? And if you keep in mind that these terrorists that were attacking mosques, by the way, were ISIS terrorists and Al-Qaeda terrorists, well, in that case, you will understand what was going on, because yet again, ISIS terrorists and Al-Qaeda terrorists, they are Sunni radicals, right? They are Salafites, Wahhabis. And they don't care they hate Shiites, first of all. And they hate not just Shiites, they hate other Sunnis too that are not radicalized. So that's what will explain then these videos. Presence of ISIS and their Al-Qaeda terrorists will clearly explain those videos when mosques were attacked, by the way, by these terrorists on Iranian territory. So I actually believe that this is true. This is true. US, Israel, UK used their own creations, Al-Qaeda and ISIS terrorists, again, and this time around to attack Iran. As they did use these terrorist organizations when they attacked Syria, by the way. We all remember that, right? So Iran is standing strong, by the way. For now, even though nothing is finished yet, it's serious situation, but seems like Tehran is regaining initiative. Iranian security services are regaining their initiative, and they are, you know, they look stronger. They look stronger, and yet again, only way, I think, only way, either US or Israel or UK or all these terrorist regimes, by the way, can succeed in a regime change operation is to try and directly attack Iran through airstrikes, missile strikes, whatever they're going to come up with, right? And in that case, Iranian leadership was very clear that if Iran is attacked, they will they will retaliate with force. And I'm quite sure they have means to retaliate. Few more news, dear friends. And that's about it for this news segment. Chinese Foreign Ministry, of course, reacted on a new tariff threat from Trump. And Chinese Foreign Ministry said that, and as you know, as I already mentioned, Trump threatened all the countries that are cooperating with Iran with their additional 25% tariffs. That includes China too. And Beijing commented on that. China will protect its interests if Washington imposes tariffs on a trade with Tehran, said Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning. We have quote here, China's position on the tariffs is very clear. We have always believed that there are no winners in a tariff war. China will, which is true, by the way, China will resolutely defend its legitimate rights and interests, statement said, and that means China will impose retaliatory tariffs, by the way. China may actually again impose strict restrictions on the import of rare or dual user elements to US, which will be a massive strike on US military industrial complex, by the way. On US economy, obviously, generally speaking, but on US military industrial complex first and foremost. So yes, China not gonna allow US to bully it, right? And I will end this news segment on this report that Mercedes, by the way, German car manufacturer, registered its trademarks in Russia, according to Commerçant newspaper. So German automaker Mercedes-Benz has registered its trademark in the country. The registration application was submitted to Rospatent in September, and the agency approved it. Which is unfortunate, by the way. We don't need no freaking Mercedes here in Russia. We just don't need it. And Mercedes should not be allowed to come back. Their trademark should not be registered. I'm quite sure about it. But yeah, I mean, that's my opinion. This allows Mercedes to resume production, sales, and the part supplies in Russia. German automaker Mercedes-Benz, formerly Daimler AG, was founded in 1883. In 2022, following the start of special military operation in Ukraine, company announced its withdrawal from the Russian market. And yet again, Mercedes betrayed Russian consumers and should not be allowed back to Russia. We just don't need Mercedes, man. We just don't need it. It's a good car. Yeah, used to be better, but it's okay still. But we don't need it. We just don't, man. Right? We can live without Mercedes. It's a Mercedes that is losing billions, right? For their decision to betray Russian customers. It's a Mercedes that is losing billions. No, we are not losing nothing, right? So why are we going to allow these traitors to come back on our market? It makes no freaking sense, man. We don't need Mercedes. We don't need BMW or BMW, as many calls it. It's a BMW, isn't it? There is so many freaking videos on the internet on that. So we don't need none of those companies, by the way, that portray Russian customers. And none of them should be allowed back, man. My personal opinion, but, of course, Russian government has its own takes. If Mercedes will come back, probably they will have to pay either big fine or something, or maybe they will they will have to invest some big amount of money into Russian economy. There have to be something there, right? You just cannot allow these companies to come back on Russian market just because they want it now. No, man. Let force them to pay to build a couple of factories, man, to do something, invest billions, right? Let the Mercedes invest, let's say, $20 billion into Russian economy, and then, okay, come back and sell your freaking cars. That's what we should do if we don't want to block them forever from Russian market. It makes sense, isn't it? Force these foreign companies that will make tremendous money on Russian market to invest first, to invest billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions combined, obviously. So yes, I mean, every other day, by the way, reports like that are being published here, that this company from Collective West and other company from Collective West are registering their trademarks. They all want to come back because, well, they feel now pain, isn't it? They do feel pain, man. They are losing, according to different reports, by the way, that the Western businesses, Western economies, generally speaking, lost trillions. Not even tens of billions or hundreds of billions. They lost trillions, by the way, right? While leaving Russian market. The US alone lost 300 billion. And the business between Russia and US was never that great, man. Business between Russia and Europe was big, right? And Europe was number one trading partner to Russia, not the US. US was not even in top 10, I guess. And if they lost 300 billion, can you imagine how much money European economies lost with all these hostilities against Russia? But anyways, I think interesting news, just an indicator that Western companies are not really that happy with their decision to betray Russian consumers, right? And dear friends, that's about it for this news segment. There was a super chat. On Rumble from Scooby. So let me highlight this super chat, dear friends. And let me check also Boosty if there was any question or the comment from there. So nothing from Boosty, nothing from PayPal, but there was a super chat on Rumble, and I will highlight it, if I may, with a comment from Scooby, active member of our community, and well, let's highlight the comments. So this is comment from Scooby. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat on Rumble, $5 donation, and commentary. And let's go through this comment. Do you know how long until the Chinese have a good submarine? I assume with their industrial capacity, they'll fill their oceans with them and prevent US piracy when they do. China has quite a number of nuclear submarines, but they are, I will say, significantly behind US and Russia in submarine technologies. But maybe they don't really have to come up with their leading edge technology submarines, by the way. Submarines that they already can acquire are capable enough, right? They are capable enough. China has the biggest navy already by number. May not be strongest navy in this regard. Probably US Navy is still stronger. But in terms of numbers, China is already number one. And as one say goes, you know, numbers eventually will transform into quality, into effectiveness, right? Numbers matters. Technically speaking, I mean, of course, I'm not military expert, but I think China is like at least 2 decades behind Russia and US in terms of submarine technologies. Russia, theoretically speaking, Russia might help China with submarine technologies, but this is not easy. This might be done for something, right? It's countries don't share top level technologies for no reason, right? And Russia has to balance it out in terms of relationships with India, obviously. So yeah, it will take decades, I guess, before China will catch up in terms of submarines. But they already have a blue water navy, by the way, and they are building these blue water capabilities actively. They already have a third generation aircraft carrier, right? And they're gonna build, I believe, at least another 5 this next generation carriers. Eventually, towards the 2030, 2035, China will have about 10 aircraft carriers, by the way. Somewhat similar number as US does. And I don't think they even need more, right? 7 to 10 aircraft carriers are way enough to protect China itself, right? And that's what their goal is, by the way, to be unpenetratable fortress, right? And to be able to project the power around, right? In Indian Ocean, in Pacifics. They have no plans to attack US, isn't it? China not going to send its troops to attack US. They don't care about it. So they are already strong enough, and I think US will find it very difficult to contain China in Indo-Pacifics already. China is a big force. And if this piracy stuff will continue to happen, I guess both Russia and China will, maybe even India, by the way, will start deploying blue water vessels all over the ocean, right? Some operation will be launched by BRICS, probably, to protect maritime routes, to protect vessels. Some changes has to be made, of course, in terms of how these vessels move, right? Probably, in case of Russian fleet, for example, probably we will have to organize in a safe area convoys, right? And then some military vessels have to escort these convoys to protect them, because neither Russia neither China has enough warships to escort every single commercial vessel. I mean, these commercial vessels are tens of thousands in this planet, right? Just in so-called shadow fleet, there is 300 plus tankers that US and Europe have sanctioned. So we don't have so many military warships, right, to escort every single tanker, every single cargo container carrier and stuff, LNG carrier and so on. And I think that's going to be the solution, to to reorganize the shipping, to build up convoys of 5-10 vessels, maybe more, and then to escort these vessels with their frigates and stuff, right? That's the time we are living in, because state piracy, state terrorism, and state piracy has become a trademark of the Western world. Among other things, state terrorism and state piracy is also something that is a Western feature now, right? And we will deal with it, by the way. We will deal with it 100%. No doubts about it. I remind you that in South Africa, I believe still there is maritime exercises in which Russia, China, Iran, and South Africa are participating. Maybe some other countries too, but there is very little it's been known about this stuff, right? So, and this is first exercises, I believe, under the umbrella of BRICS. So for sure, either BRICS will come up with a plan to protect maritime routes and commercial vessels, or Russia and China can do this on a bilateral agreement, on the level of bilateral agreement, and protect the vessels. So this is it, dear friends. Let me once again check to make sure I don't miss. Okay, there is no more super chat there. Thank you very much, Scooby, once again for your support and the question and the commentary. And dear friends, if you find this update interesting, if you like my work, and if you can support, by the way, please consider to do so. You can donate to this project through PayPal and the Boosty platforms. Links are on this video in description box and will be in the pinned comment on YouTube. You can subscribe to my Patreon page or page on Boosty, where I have second news updates on regular basis. And today, later on, during the evening, I will publish a second news update with all the latest news there, and also behind the scenes stuff. So there is extra content on Patreon and Boosty as my thank for support. Links also are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And I really hope, dear friends, more members of our bigger community on YouTube and Rumble will consider to join me on Patreon or Boosty. A monthly subscription starts from $5, by the way, right? On Patreon, for example. And it's a great deal of support. Without support from Patreon community, this project would not exist, by the way. I'm extremely grateful for members of community that are donating through PayPal, of course, but without support through Patreon and Boosty, by the way, this project would be dead years ago, right? So that's how important it is. So if you can, dear friends, follow me on a Patreon and subscribe to my page there, or on a Boosty, by the way. And Boosty also allows to donate. Okay, this is it. This is it for now. Have a wonderful day. I really hope you liked the video. Take care. And as I already said, later on today, towards 7, 8, 9 p.m. Moscow time, I will publish second news update on my Patreon and Boosty pages. Bye.